Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Before we start, we'll start with a trivia question. And so this was brought to you by Coach Tommy Zagorski. And the question is, what does the 19 in COVID-19 stand for? Text me your answers. All right, we are on part 2 of The Obstacle is the Way. And part 2 is action. And so chapter 1 is titled The Discipline of Action. So similar to how perception started off, chapter 1 of that section was the discipline of perception. Part 2, all about action, starts off the discipline of action. So you can see the premium that they're putting on the discipline aspect of all 3 of these virtues. So this one dives right into Greek mythology to give you the background of what they're trying to get to from a chapter standpoint. And the god that they're talking about, the Greek god, is Demosthenes. And Demosthenes is one of the best orators of all time. And from a young age, he was on pace to be this. And unfortunately for him, he was born frail, weak, and with a speech impediment. But he still knew that he was on pace to be this great orator. And a great orator is a great public speaker, person great with words. And like I said, he was born with those disabilities from the get-go. And then on top of that, his father passed away at a young age. And he had an inheritance that he was paying guards to look out for him. And the guards, instead of looking out for him and helping him get the schooling, they robbed him and beat him and left him. And now all of a sudden he has no money, so he can't get any tutoring, can't get any help. But he still knows that he has a higher purpose and has a goal to achieve. And so what he does is he locks himself away and trains himself in all kinds of unorthodox ways, such as learning to speak in one breath. And there's a few other ways too. I don't even really know how they got him to do what he was able to do, but it all paid off. At the end of this training, he didn't unlock himself from where he was keeping himself captive until he mastered the art of speaking. And it really just goes into the entire premise of like, how are we reacting? Like we're given a circumstance, we're given a situation. It's how are we reacting? And really, it's like how are you overcoming adversity? Because obviously he was dealt with it. And when you pertain it to our own lives, it's like how do we react in those types of situations, in any type of situations that aren't in our best interest, in our best nature. And a lot of times our natural tendencies are to seek comfort and to get away from it. But really we need to learn the discipline of acting when nobody's watching, on how do we overcome it that way? Like what are the actions that we're taking when we don't necessarily need to bring them into consideration? Because then there's not a lot of times too that the chapter talks about is like we always have a great idea. Maybe we can articulate it, maybe we can think it up, but the action part is still where we need help. And a lot of times we prevent ourselves from doing that. Because it does feel better to ignore it in some cases as well. But deep down, we need to know what it is and have that ability to overcome with action. That's how you completely get rid of that feeling altogether. And also it just starts talking more about adversity and all the situations that come up. Because there's a lot of times other people's adversity, the things that they have to go through on a day-to-day basis are a lot worse than ours. But it's all about the actions that they're taking to overcome it. It's like, so what are the actions that we're taking anytime something comes up that we don't feel is fair or the way things should be? Like, are we still taking the appropriate actions? Or are we holding ourselves accountable? Because you think about a situation like this, like we're self-quarantined right now. But like, do we have the discipline of action to still make sure that we're taking care of our stuff academically? Are we still taking care of ourselves physically to make sure that we're in shape? Because I heard a great quote over the weekend. At the end of the day, if you're a Rocky fan, like Ivan Drago, like we're still going to have to face Ivan Drago. Like that's not going away. So like how prepared are you going to be able to get yourself? What are the steps that you're going to take in order to get yourself ready for that? Like what are the actions? Like, yeah, we can think it all. Like we can understand, we can articulate, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. But do we have a plan of action to make sure that we do? Do we have the discipline to make sure that we're taking care of all of that? Time to get to work. All right, gentlemen, hit me up with that answer.